Hey, it's me!
Not a bad shot if I do say so myself.
Not bad. It's great! You could be a professional cameraman.
Oh, I hold on to the hope.
On the last Final Fantasy XV episode of Who Dat, I spoke at length on how Gladiolus was the first character from the game that grabbed my interest, but ultimately didn't turn out to be the character I was expecting. During my playthrough, I found myself feeling more disappointment than satisfaction towards the guy, and for a short while it did leave me wondering if anybody else on the cast could fill this unexpected void left behind by the beefcake. Coming into the game and going off of those initial assumptions, Prompto was a character that I expected to like the least. And then in a complete reversal to what happened with Gladio, this kid with the camera ended up winning me over. Prompto does get a bit of a bad rep. The general consensus is he's seen as the weakest person of the group, he's also considered one of the most annoying cast members in the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if people felt more comfortable modding a completely different character into his place instead. Hello Bayonetta. But honestly, all jokes aside, I like Prompto. I like Prompto more than I thought I was going to like Prompto. Was it because my expectations were so low that I felt pleasantly surprised once I spent time with him? Probably, but I do feel that there is a genuinely good character here, one that sometimes doesn't get the attention he deserves. So, let's see if I can do him any justice.
You should probably expect spoilers.
As a kid, Prompto was a fat loner with no friends. Jesus Christ. Square Enix, is this how we're starting with this one? We're gonna start like this, yeah? Alright, we're starting with this, okay. As a kid, Prompto was a fat loner with no friends. He was an adopted child living in the city of Insomnia and attended the same school as Prince Noctis of the Lucian royal family. Shy and socially awkward, Prompto kept to himself, eating junk food on a daily basis in a vain attempt to cheer himself up. One day he comes across a wounded puppy and decided to take the dog in so he could heal it. Once the dog had fully recovered, it left on its own, finding its way back to its owner, who just happened to be Lunafreya, the flipping princess of Tenebrae. Grateful for the kindness shown to her pup, Lunafreya wrote to Prompto thanking him. She also noted the fact that Prompto was attending the same school as Prince Noctis and suggested the two of them become friends. Filled with an all-new purpose in life and wanting to make a good impression on the prince, Prompto throws his current lifestyle into the garbage and decides to get fit, shredding the weight off, and bloody hell Prompto, goddamn. He befriends Noctis and they spend the rest of their school years hanging out together. Later, once the game begins, Prompto joins Noctis' squad as they head off to get the prince wedded to Luna. Of course, that whole plan goes to shit when the evil Niflheim Empire opens fire on the city of Insomnia, leaving the boys stuck between a rock and a hard place. Prompto remains by Noctis' side for the best and worst times, providing the group with his comedic antics and nerdy-styled fanboyisms. It's only towards the latter half of the game does this light-hearted character take a sudden dark turn when he goes missing for a bit and comes back with a massive exposition dump on what happened to him while he was off camera because the actual story content for the plot twist itself was locked away on DLC. Go on, Square Enix.
Visual design.
Right off the bat, I'm going to say he looks like Cloud Strife if Cloud Strife jumped headfirst into J-pop fashion, turned into a gigantic nerd, and remembered how to smile. Of course, he is absolutely nothing like Cloud, but I'm constantly being reminded of him due to Prompto's hair doing whatever the hell this is. The similarities stop there though, as Prompto takes on a more trendy alternative edge boy look with his outfit. Starting with the torso, we've got a gold-studded sleeveless jacket littered with various patches and tags, one of which contains the sentence, "It's a beautiful day, now watch some bastard fuck it up." Lovely! The jacket is worn over a sleeveless tank top, that of which is grey in colour and displays an abstract pattern of random lines and squares. The trousers are of leopard print because he's a bit of an animal. He's not, he's really not, he's actually harmless. And the whole look is completed with white cuff boots. Like his brethrens, due to representing the Lucian royal family, the colours of the outfit have to be dark and diluted, so it's of no surprise Prompto's tones are following typical form. That said, to reflect his colourful personality, Prompto does push the envelope on those limitations, as his clothes contain the most variety of shades when compared to the outfits worn by the other guys. He is the most outwardly expressive character from the group, wearing a bunch of different things while still trying to keep the tones within the Lucian royal colours. In fact, if anything, he's kinda gone overboard with his wardrobe considering he's paired up leopard print with a tartan plaid hybrid, and that's just the most unlikeliest of fusions. It doesn't even entirely work from a stylistic angle as the different patterns clash horribly, but that actually goes hand in hand with Prompto being a bit of a tryhard. It makes sense for him to end up like a mild fashion disaster because style is not coming naturally to him, he's just doing what thinks will make him look cool. He's chucking a bunch of random clothes together in the hopes that one of those items will work for him. So, as odd as it looks, it actually works for his character, and because of that, I can't imagine him looking any other way. As far as preferences go, I'm not particularly fond of the colours used as they're still way too dull for my tastes, but the clothing items themselves are quite nice. I especially like the jacket and how it comes with extra fabric attached to the hem as it rewards Prompto with this wavy tailcoat vibe. When he's in motion and this fabric sways around behind him, it really adds to the flow of his movement and I think it looks great. I'm not sure it needed to feature both tartan and plaid though, as one over the other would have sufficed, but again, the weird confused matchup lends itself to Prompto's personality, so it's still fitting for him. The other thing I like about his design are his freckles, as strange as that might sound. Whenever his goofy face turns up in a photo and you can see it up close, it really adds to his charm. Along with his bright blonde hair and his cheeky smile, the freckles brighten Prompto's complexion and easily makes him the most warm and approachable guy in the group.
Personality.
Prompto is a complete nerd, both in the technical sense as well as the emotional. He has an eye for gadgets and gizmos, always showing a keen interest into how they work as well as being eager to try them out for himself. He especially loves photography and will spend much of his time messing around with his camera, taking shots of anything and everything. In fact, at one point he mentions it's his dream to become a professional photographer one day. And good luck with that. He's also considered nerdish due to the way he geeks out about the things he loves. Whether it is riding on a chocobo or sighting a rare creature out in the wild, if something grabs Prompto's attention, then he will become easily excited with zero restraint for hiding those emotions. In short, he's a fanboy of the more positive variety, and it's actually quite nice to watch him express his joy towards those interests. Without a doubt, it makes him the liveliest member of the crew, and because of that he tends to stand out just that little bit more in group conversations. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, one of the major criticisms that Prompto tends to face is his personality can be a bit annoying. He's too much, as it were. And I can see truth in that assessment. He does have a handful of moments that are borderline embarrassing, but isn't that supposed to be the point of him? Prompto is not cool by default, he tries hard to be cool, and therefore some of his lines are corny, which in context of the character, fits him like a glove. Do I cringe at some of the things he says? Absolutely, and that's exactly what I'm supposed to feel because being a bad boy who demands respect is not who Prompto is at all. He's a nerd, and he's just trying to measure up to the guys he hangs around with. We have to remember that there's a certain amount of acting going on with him, and in turn this aspect of his personality is actually on point. During his childhood, Prompto was very sad and lonely. It took the attention of a princess and then the befriending of a prince to shake him out of this self-destructive loop. And now that he has found a reason to exist, what would you expect him to do besides try his damned hardest to better himself as a person so he can fit in with that crowd? That's all he's doing, trying to fit in. This in turn causes Prompto to suffer from imposter syndrome, worrying that if his friends were to learn deep down he's really a quiet and reserved individual, that they would somehow lose interest in him, so he keeps goofing around in an effort to keep their attention on him, which doesn't make the paranoia any easier to deal with. It's a bit of a vicious cycle if anything. That's not to say Prompto is faking his happiness because that's untrue, his happiness is genuine. Being part of Noctis's close circle of friends is what made Prompto happy to begin with, but at the same time he feels he has an act to uphold so that this happiness can continue. Lastly, Prompto is also easily smitten, falling for a variety of women that the group encounters, from the outwardly presented Cindy to the take no shit ass kicking Aranea. If it's a girl who shows Prompto any mild conversation, then watch out ladies, this dude is gonna get a crush on ya. That being said, although he falls in love stupidly easy, he is incredibly shy about it to those he falls for. Prompto doesn't run any game, he's not some sort of Casanova. Instead, he becomes nervous and tries to avoid letting on that he likes these girls, despite acting so incredibly obvious about it anyway. It must be frustrating for him if anything. I'd imagine the fear of rejection is what keeps him from trying his luck, and shit, I'm sure we've all been there at some point ourselves, haven't we? As far as Prompto's personality goes, I got what I expected. And what I expected was a little bit of cringe, but all from a pure heart with the best of intentions. Seeing as he didn't really disappoint me in that regard, I can't knock it. Can he be annoying at times? Sure as hell he can, but because I see his character in full context, I accept the way he is, and dare I say it, I kinda like him being this way. He's fun, he livens the mood, and even if he throws the whole conversation into a cringy pile of cringe, truth be told, I expect him to do it, so it's of no great offense to me.
Importance.
Prompto is not the most important cast member, not by a long shot. In fact, if we're being honest, this game could have continued just the same had it been a trio and Prompto was absent. It would have been very boring, granted, but from a storyline and narrative perspective, it would have continued just as it had done. He doesn't do anything within the story that's essentially groundbreaking. To the plot, the world and its lore, Prompto is there along for the ride, but he didn't build any part of the ride himself. In fact, the biggest plot point that Prompto personally gets wrapped up in are the revelations made during his own solo story, which, as I said earlier, is fully explored in a DLC episode, so you're gonna have to pay money to play that shit. During this outing, Prompto is forcefully split from the group, and while he's away, he learns about his mysterious origins. Prompto was created as part of the evil Niflheim's empire to expand their military through the production of Magitech soldiers. In short, Prompto was nothing more than a mass-produced doll designed to do the bidding of the Imperials. The only reason he ended up in the city of Insomnia was due to agents of the Lucian royal family rescuing him and bringing him back with them. Of course, Prompto didn't remember any of this because he was only a baby at the time, but growing up he would question what the strange barcode on his wrist was, which he learns are serial numbers given to each Magitech soldier when they are created. Through this shocking discovery, Prompto has more self-doubt within him than ever before, and it's only through the unlikely assistance of Aranea does Prompto find the courage to return to his group and tell them what he has learned about himself. And all of this is self-contained to Prompto himself. None of this affects any of the other cast members, only him. Even when he does bring this news back to his friends, they merely shrug it off like, so what, who cares, you're still you innit? And I sort of get the sentiment that they were going for here, like they're trying to say that regardless of all this shit, Prompto is still their friend anyway, so why does it matter? But it just sort of came across like a non-event. Like, nobody gave a shit. Nobody even raised an eyebrow. The game didn't even want to spend any time in it, you know? As far as plot lines go, Prompto is the character with the least to give, and what he does give ends up getting treated as the tiniest of threads within Final Fantasy XV's entire structure. So, sadly, no. In regards to the story and world overall, Prompto is not important. That said, he holds importance elsewhere, mainly to us people playing the game. Prompto, whether you like it or not, is the heart of the group. He brightens the atmosphere and he's the only character within the party to do that. The other three guys fill more serious roles, therefore it becomes Prompto's job to lighten that overbearing load a little, otherwise the game would become a no-nonsense journey filled to the breaking point with stern faces and too cool for school attitudes. If anything, Prompto jumping around like a twit and taking silly photos might be annoying, but bloody hell if it doesn't add a change of pace to the group's dynamic.
Conclusion.
On one hand, Prompto didn't surprise me because my expectations were already low and he turned out to be the character I expected him to be anyway. I think what surprised me more was how much I ended up liking this character despite my expectations. Prompto's a nice guy with an underlayer of personal insecurities, and just on those grounds alone he had been written better than some of the other characters. Prompto might be annoying to some, but honestly, that bouncy attitude of his helped to balance out the cast, and without him I know this game would have been a whole lot more boring to play through. And finally, yeah, he may have made zero impact to the storyline itself, but he made 100% impact with those of us who spent time with him. Whether they were positive reactions or negative, we still felt something towards Prompto either way, and if you ask me, with a game like Final Fantasy XV that has trouble directing its characters half the time, that sort of thing goes for a lot.
Oh, hi there, opening.
Yo, this episode was brought to you by these wonderful people supporting me on Patreon. Without their help, this show would not be able to continue. If you'd also like to support Who Dat, please check the link in the description. Any and all help would be appreciated. Cheers everybody.